So today I'm going to be going over a technique that I like to call balayage contouring. Now the reason I like to think of it as a contouring is that you see a seamless blended effect, but it gives a real contour to the hair. Now what I like about it is that you're really playing with lights and darks. So you can see this beautiful soft highlight, but underneath it, there's a lot of contrast. There's a lot of dimension and shadow. So the way you get these kind of looks is very much about strategic placement. So if strategic placement is key, that means this technique is going to be almost like a restraint for probably what you're used to. Because I think when most people approach doing balayage, they're very heavy-handed. So I like to have a very, very soft, delicate touch, which is going to make it, much more seamless, blended, but also efficient. So if I could tell you that we can get this look in 15 to 30 minutes, can I get some claps in the comments? Is that something you guys want to see today? How to create this look in 15 to 30 minutes? All right, let's see. If you guys don't want to see it, then I don't have to do it. But if I need to see some claps to get going here. All right, so let's get started. First, we're going to start off by, we talked about strategic placement. Now, the key with strategic placement is really it's going to start with, tailoring it to the cut. So when we say tailoring everything to the cut, that's where you're going to start. Before you even start with products, before you start with placement, it's like, what's going on here? Is how much layering is in the hair. So the more layering, the more sections you're going to need to take. So with this one, she's got longer layers. So we're going to start with the horseshoe pattern. Now the reason I chose this horseshoe pattern is because we're going to be working in a horizontal pattern. And the first thing we want to look at when you're choosing where to start this horseshoe is where is the heaviest weight of the layers. And from usually most people from temple to temple, that's kind of where the weight of the layers fall. Because what we're going to be doing is that we want to be able to grasp this entire section, because this is all where we're going to be highlighting on the surface of this section. So second, when I said horizontal placement, what do I mean by that? Well, let's think of this as taking slices. So when we're taking slices, when you're working horizontally like this, let's say you highlighted this entire section here. Now what's going to happen if you highlighted this whole horizontal slice right here? You're going to get a big, strong chunk. Now what if you take that same slice, but you went in a diagonal pattern? Now, it's going to be still strong, but a lot more diffused than the horizontal one. Now, what if you took that and went vertically? Well, now that slice, that kind of disappears into the hair. So that's going to give you the least amount of impact. So with us working strategically and trying to work really fast means that we want to do everything in a horizontal pattern. Now, I know horizontal can be harsh when you think about it, so that's why we're also going to be working in V shapes. And I'm going to get into that, so that's going to show you how it's going to be diffused and soft and blended. Because as you can see in this pattern right here, there's no hard lines. Everything is very soft and diffused, but you still get the strength here. You get that pop. So you guys ready to get started? Okay, so now we're going to go over our placement. So we're going to start off by going gradual, delicate highlights at the root, and we're going to get thicker and heavier as we move down the hair shaft. So starting with our horizontal section, we're taking a pretty big piece right here. We're taking about a 2-inch section. Have a tail comb handy because you want to make sure before you start highlighting that you're working with a smooth surface. And you can see with the amount of product I have, I don't have a lot. You want to really let the lightener just sit on the surface of your tint brush. Now, I love these Freeware tint brushes because they allow you to really do a lot of the delicate work that is really important, especially at the root area. So when you're starting with balayage, one key thing that I like to do is start in the mid shaft and work on a side sweeping motion, working your way up to the root. Now, the reason I like to start in the mids is it's a little bit more forgiving. You can be a little heavier handed and then feather your way up and blend, which is really important to create the soft, seamless lines. So you see I'm starting from the mids and I'm working my way up, but I'm leaving some dark in the middle. That's important because, again, we don't want to saturate this entire section because that's going to give you a really hard line. So to diffuse and make it seamless, you want to start more delicate, at the root, give a little bit of negative space in there, and create this V shape. So we're starting with these corners first. Okay, so we started with this first. Now, you're going to take a larger tint brush. I use this larger Framart one. And you're going to put more product. Still, it's really sitting on the surface of your tint brush. There's not globs of lightener here. It's sitting on the surface. And now you're going to gather this entire section all the way to the bottom weight of this hair. And you see we've gathered this huge chunk. Now again, take your tail comb, make sure you've got a smooth section. And now you're going to connect this to create a V shape. And we're going to work our way down to really, really saturate this section. But again, you're sitting on the surface. Like, I'm not going to be going underneath the hair. You don't want to go crazy. All the lightener is very much sitting just on the surface of the hair. And you're going to create this V. So you guys can see this was like our section 1. We got our V shape. And we're going to continue this around the head. So we're going to be going again with our smaller detailing brush, grabbing about a 2-inch section, and take your tail comb, smooth it out. And then again, starting in the mids, and work your way up to the root area. Make sure you guys can see that okay. And we're going to continue on with this one. And you can see again, not a lot of product, working as a sideways sweeping motion. So we do our 2 little streaks first. And then you're going to go in with your larger brush, gathering all the weight of this hair. And you can see I'm taking all this. We're going to work with all these tips. Make sure we have a smooth surface to work from. And you're going to go down and really, really saturate, as you work down the hair shaft. So you can tell one key thing about this is that I'm starting really, really delicate at the root, and I'm gradually getting thicker and heavier as I move down the hair shaft. So for those of you guys that are just tuning in, what I'm doing here is I'm working in a horizontal pattern, and we're doing V shapes as we work down the hair shaft. And these V shapes are going to create a beautiful, seamless balayage. And if you guys didn't get to see, our done effect, this is it right here. So essentially what these V shapes are going to do is it's going to create this effect. So if you guys are happy about it, give me some hearts if you want to see some more, because I'm going to keep on going. So you're going to get this beautiful, seamless, beautiful effect. So this is going to be what, I think a lot of your clients want. If you guys aren't already doing it in the salon, it's going to be a chance for you guys to start doing it. And yeah, I'm excited. So as far as what I'm using product-wise, our new hero with Matrix is the Matrix Light Master with bonder inside. It's already pre-formulated with the bonder, and that's our superhero product. But I will tell you from doing freehand work, the key and usually the biggest issues that most people have is, dealing with, unwanted orange and brassy tones and having a hard time breaking through. So there's 2 things that I found for freehand work and open air work that's really important is, first of all, using the strongest lightener. So for me, as much as I love the Light Master with the bonder inside, my superhero product when it comes to freehand work is the original Light Master 8-level lift in the blue tubs. Now, the reason I like this one is it's got the most strength, it's got the most power, and it's gonna give you the most lift. Second thing that's really important, that I know a lot of people come from a school of, slow and steady. That doesn't work with balayage. If you go slow and steady, you're gonna get stuck at orange because it's gonna dry out before you're there. So that's why you're gonna wanna make sure you're using the strongest developer you have to get you the maximum amount of lift. So I'm always, for freehand work, using 40 volume. It's super important, and I know people worry about damaging the hair, but when you're doing open air work, trust me, everything gets slowed down substantially. So you want to be able to maximize and break through, as much orange and brass as you can, and that's going to be by using the strongest light master, which we have. It's just the 8-level lift in the blue tub and 40 volume developer. So let's continue on with this. But I want to go into our next section, which is going to be the face framing. Now, the face frame is probably the most important part of doing freehand work for two main reasons. Number one, if you mess up, client's gonna notice and she's not gonna be happy about it. So you gotta get this part right. Also, if you get it right, the client's gonna notice. And this is gonna be her reason that she's gonna rebook with you for a refresh and a touch-up. And this is how you build a clientele, by getting, these specific areas right every single time. There can't be any mistakes when it comes to the face frames. So what I find is, we're working in a horizontal pattern. So when I say horizontal now, you're saying, wait a minute, that's a sideway pattern, that's vertical. It's vertical if you're looking at the head, but when she pulls her hair back, now it's horizontal this way. Because if you start highlighting only from here, you're gonna get a little bit of striping. So you wanna take this entire section of her face frame, and we are gonna work in a horizontal pattern. So again, keys to keeping things seamless is making sure you're working with a smooth surface. So start by, a very, very sheer amount of product. Again, look how much product's on my tint brush. There's not a lot. It's really just kind of sitting on the surface of this tint brush. And so the elevation is gonna be pulled out of the hair, and we're gonna start in the mid shaft. Now the mid shaft is gonna, again, it gives you a little bit of forgiveness if you have a heavy hand, if you go a little bit too heavy. So it lets you blend. If you start really heavy at the root, it's a little bit harder to blend. It's more likely you're gonna get spots and hot roots. And it's really kind of keeping that seamless, delicate blend. So starting in the mids and feathering your way up. And again, you can go back and do a little more. It's okay. And so starting in the mid shaft, and we're gonna be working our way up. Gradually getting, thicker and heavier in the mids and ends. So we wanna get all these little baby hairs. These are all those little things that, if you can get this right, like I said, the clients are gonna be happy. And when I say get it right, it means all that little delicate baby hair that's around the face, that should be highlighted. And the reason I say it should be highlighted is because if you think of little kids' hair, all those baby hairs are usually blonde. If they have that face frame, it's not like dark baby hairs and all of a sudden chunks of blonde coming out. All that little delicateness needs to be highlighted. And really, it's that detail work that I think really separates, a really amazing color. So you really take the time and get all that stuff done. So we're working through the mids, working our way up to the root. And then as we work down the hair shaft, you're gonna get thicker and heavier as you work down. And you're gonna take this all the way through to the ends. All right. So you can see what we've done here is, created this really delicate effect. It's really soft at the root, and it's gradually getting thicker and heavier as we move down. So I wanna show you guys, what it's gonna look like when we're fully done with the application, just so that you guys get, a visual of where we're going. So you can see this one, I've done her application already. You can see at the root, it's all really delicate. There's a lot of delicate work, but it's getting thicker and heavier as we move down the hair, and there's these beautiful V's. But you can tell underneath this hair, it hasn't been highlighted. So it's really just working on the surface of the hair, and you wanna keep that shadow in there. You need that dark. So I told you guys we did a horseshoe pattern. So that first section is what we did with the horseshoe. And I'm gonna continue because I want you guys to see the full effect. But we're working in V shapes. And you probably saw a little piece of cotton in there. So the cotton is gonna separate our sections. So again, let's go through this because I think it visually helps you guys the more you see me do it. And you almost you're starting even with the stance. You have to almost think of yourself as like an athlete, like a baseball player. So if you're not positioning yourself properly, you're not gonna get this great work. And it's also physically, I think, a hard job on your body. So your posture is gonna be really important. So you almost have to position yourself, I say sideways to the hair. And that way it allows you to do the sweeps really effortlessly like this. And like I said earlier, this technique, I do these in 15 minutes. So imagine how many highlights in a day you could do if you can do this application in 15 to 30 minutes. A lot. So these are key things. And, unlike like some techniques that we see out there, they're, 7-hour, 8-hour techniques. As much as I love my clients, 8 hours is a long time to be with anybody. So, I think it's key to make these as fast and efficient as possible. And then for me, like, I think if you watched any of my videos in the past, I do a lot of teasing work, which I also love. And the teasing is essentially almost like this technique, but on steroids. It's going to get you there, even faster and really brighten up the tips. But what this technique does that I love is really, it just creates a seamless look. And it also, it really makes the shampooing easier because, if you've done the teasing work, you know that, you need an extra like 15, 20 minutes just to get that out. Where this, you just do a quick rinse, gloss, and then you're off to the next thing. So, let's talk a little bit about glossing too, because I think that's another, that's another key thing that, people have a lot of questions of. And they want to know formulation because how many of you give me a hands up if the biggest thing you struggle with balayage is the unwanted brassy tones and which formula to use to neutralize without dulling everything down. Because again, for me, I like my highlights to be as bright and vivid as possible. So if you overtone, suddenly you lose that pop, you lose that contrast and dimension. So what I found is there is our newest line of these pearl toners. I don't know if you guys have seen these. They're the new acidic pearl toners from Matrix Color Sync. And so there's two types of demis now that Matrix is coming out with. There's the acidic and then there's the alkaline. What I love about the acidic is that these have zero lift. So if you got delicate hair that you're scared of lifting, that's really, really baby fine, these are gonna be great for that because they're gonna have zero lift. And the acidic is gonna really lock the cuticles, seal everything down, give lots of shine. And these are already pre-bonded for you, so that's amazing. And these come, the pearls now are the newest line that we have, and they come in 4 different shades. So the 10PA, this one's gonna be, the traditional pearl finish in a level 10, so it's gonna give you a nice neutralizing, just like middle of the road sandy tone. But then we also have the 10PV. 10PV's got a little bit of violet to it. So that's what I did with this one over here. We did the 10PV over this highlight, and you can see it gave a really nice, cool finish. Not too ashy, not too violet. The pearl gives a nice iridescent effect. But what I loved about it was it canceled a lot of the unwanted yellow tones, which is something that, it's unfortunately there when you're doing balayage. But the developer that we're going to use with this is going to be always 10 volume for the acidic toners. But there's also 2 more shades. These are also really versatile. There's a 10PG. Now this one is a rose gold finish. Now these are gorgeous, I think, over like a redhead or a brunette who wants like a little bit of like, coppery tone to it. This one's gonna be beautiful with the rose gold finish. But probably my most favorite is the 10PG. Now 10PG has got the gold finish. Now a lot of times, especially if you're doing foil work, you can tend to sometimes over lighten and get past, the hair can get like too white and the clients just want that shimmer to the hair. So the 10PG is gonna give that without making it overly gold. You don't want them to leave with orange, but you still want a little bit more warmth. That's where the 10PG is gonna be great for you. So let's continue on. Let's do one more face frame. Do you guys wanna see another face frame? Give me some hearts if you guys wanna see another face frame done. So make sure we get it right for you guys. Yeah? All right. So let's do it. So let me get on this side. Let me make sure you guys can see okay. All right. So again, we are, using Matrix Light Master with 40 volume. We're gonna take this entire section here and we're gonna work in a vertical pattern. Not a vertical, I'm sorry, horizontal pattern, but horizontal meaning off her hairline. So we're working here, and you want to use your tail comb to make sure you have a smooth surface that you're working from. And again, we want to keep very minimal product. I can't reinforce this enough because this is where I think, most people that do balayage that get a lot of, spotting and heavy-handed is because they're overly heavy. I call that, I'm almost joking to call it bali blobs, when you're that heavy-handed. So for me, I like to keep everything very soft and very delicate. All right, so we're gonna be working our way from the mids, working all the way to the root. And we're gonna just keep going up. So starting at the mids, like I said earlier, it's a little bit more forgiving and it lets you work your way up because you don't want any heavy, hard spots at the hairline. Because we said earlier, like if you get this right, you're gonna get a happy client who's more likely to rebook with you. So you get this wrong, that's where the client's also gonna notice. If you make a mistake in the back, there's a chance you're gonna probably get away with it. High chance. But you get it wrong up front, she's coming back for sure. And she might not ever come back, for a second time. So you wanna make sure that you really master, these hairlines and make sure you get them right. All right. So I want to look at some of the questions because I know there's been a lot of comments and I want to make sure I haven't missed anything. So give me a second to look at some of these comments. Wow, there's a lot of them. All right, let's take a look. All right, wow, there's a lot of comments here. Okay, give me a second. Whoa, lots of comments. Okay, let's want to make sure we get everyone. All right, we got all of where everyone's from. All right, so let's see how you guys are watching. Okay, wouldn't it be better to use a little more product instead of coming over the section twice? That was one of the first questions. Actually, no. If you're using a lot of product, then the chance of something going wrong is high. I'd rather work it and keep working it in and blending versus if you put too much on, how are you going to get that off? The chance of you getting spots or getting hard lines is very high. So I would start off a little bit less and work your way up. Once you get to a point where you've really mastered the technique, then, obviously you can feel a little more confident in work. But even for me, I've been doing this for 20 years. I start, a little bit and work my way up and really, really blend it. So that's a great question. Let's see. Okay, one question, which toner do you use for icy hair? Let's see, then you want to go with the, ashy or the violet tones. There's a lot of them from the acidics or even from ColorSync. Probably my favorite with blondes is the new 11 series. There's an 11A, there's an 11N, but the 11A is probably the greatest one for me because it has a little bit of a brown background tone. And what that does, it just gives you like a perfect, sandy finish without being too violet or too ashy. Because for me, I don't like, hair that's overly ashy. All right, so let's kind of continue on. So we did our first section. Let's see, we got through the back. We can see, we've done our V shapes through the hair. Now let's drop this section. So we're gonna put some cotton, and the cotton's gonna separate our section, because you don't want any spotting in the hair. So we're gonna separate our section with the cotton. And now we are going to drop this to the client's natural part. So a lot of times the question is, what if the clients don't have a natural part? Then you almost have to pick one. I think it's important because, if you're wanting the dimension, you want that hair contouring, you want that dimension and contrast. If you highlight her in every single section, she just becomes a blonde. So if you want that dimension, it's a very much a less is more. And I told you guys early on at the start of this class, I think the biggest, thing that I think most of you guys need to practice is actually restraint. Less is more. You don't need to highlight every strand of the hair. it actually comes out better when you do less of it and you're really more strategic about where you're placing it. So in this situation, I want to go with the most versatile part, which is going to be in the middle. And we're going to go to her natural part. And again, you want to make sure you're working from really clean, smooth sections. And I want to start from the front again because, like I said earlier, these money pieces, these are the most important. If you get it right, the chance of this client coming back is very high. And it's going to be, how they're going to, rate you and measure your success as a colorist. All right, so we got our middle part here. And again, we are working with Matrix Lightmaster, the original one with Blue Tub, with 40 volume developer, because we want to be able to get the maximum amount of lift. So now we're taking this section, which we want to take almost like a small little V shape. Now let me get this a little bit closer so you guys can see a little bit better, because I know this is really important. Okay, so we got this little V shape. And hold on a second. All right, can you guys see that one? Okay, all right. So let's take this small V shape. Working in a small V shape right now. And again, like I said, you're gonna start at the mids and work your way up to the root. And then you're gonna take the next section. And you can see I'm starting in the mid shaft and we're working our way up. And you wanna keep the root super, super delicate because that's gonna give her the most seamless grow out. That's, I think one comment that a lot of my clients like to say to each other is that the reason they like the way I do their hair is because you can't tell where it started and where it ended. There's no hard lines when it grows out because I think, all the clients, they want that, impact when they leave the salon, but they also want their hair to look good for the next 2 to 3 months until I see them again. Because with this technique, I'm probably not going to see them again for about 3 months. So you want it to grow out, as seamlessly and beautifully as possible. So like I said, we're going to go over it one more time, just keeping everything super, super delicate. And you see that we've got these little V's. And now we're going to take our larger toothbrush and we're going to connect the first step and create this V shape. So again, gathering all the hair. This is all the way of that section, the top horseshoe part. And you want to make sure, again, you can't do this enough, or just make sure it's a smooth section. But I want you to go through now and you're going to connect the V's. All right, and we're going to go all the way through to the very ends of the hair. But you can tell, if you guys can tell, I'm just sitting on the surface of the hair. This is also very important. The underneath is dark. Some people go in and they go top, bottom, underneath. I feel like it creates too strong of an effect. So for me, I just really like to sit on that surface and create, that beautiful dimensional balayage. Okay, so that's our first one that we did right there. Give you 1 second. All right, can you see that okay? All right, so let's go to our next section. Now we're gonna be, again, working that same pattern. So we're gonna be working over to this next section. And we are taking about another 2-inch section here. And we're gonna start from the mids again, gradually working our way up. And you're gonna start, can you guys see that? Let me get this a little lower. Just wanna make sure you guys can see that, okay? All right. So again, very minimal product on our tint brush. We got a very minimal product. And we are gonna be starting over again on this next section. And we are going to be working from the mids, working delicately towards the root. right, and then we're taking a larger tint brush again. Again, there's product on it, but it's still, we're not globbing it. But I want you to take this entire weight of this section. So this is this entire section from where we had our horseshoe to here. I need you to take that entire section, and this is where you're gonna do your V. So you're gonna make sure you have, again, a smooth surface to work from. It's super important. And you wanna connect those, gradually getting thicker and heavier as you move down the hair shaft. And you can see, like, you know, these are these like great V shapes. And I want to show you guys kind of like a side by side. I think it's like a great visual when you see, you know, the application and when you get the end result. So let me show you guys. This one has been, you know, fully applied. So you can see this is from the front. We've got her like V shapes in the front. You see how delicate they are at the root. You know, that's how delicate you want to get. But you want to move down, gradually getting thicker and heavier as you move down. So same thing in the back. You know, we've got like our V shapes down here, this underneath layer, but there's dimension. There's all this brown that is in between. That's super important to give you guys that impact. And you can see the side by side of what happens. So you're gonna get this application is gonna turn into this effect. So see that dimension and the contrast in it? Because you're sitting on the surface of the hair, that's what's gonna give you, you know, that beautiful, beautiful dimension. So, you know, with some home care, you know, we all know with the toners, there's gonna be some fading, you know, and so you wanna make sure that, you know, those unwanted brassy tones, you know, they're getting neutralized at home as well. So we've got these new large back bar sizes of the Brass Off Mask, So Silver Mask, and the Dark Envy. So these are great for, you know, clients that just really want a lot of neutralizing at home, but also it's great for you guys at the salon with the back bar. The way you guys use these, there's a Dark Envy as well. So Dark Envy is great for people with dark hair. So it's like a level 5 and darker, or I'd say like even brunettes who don't highlight their hair, but tend to turn brassy and orange. Dark Envy is gonna be their hero product because it's gonna neutralize those unwanted red and orange tones and really, really give a beautiful and nice dark brown finish. Brass Off is made more for like brunettes who highlight their hair. Someone like this would be an ideal candidate because it's gonna really neutralize unwanted orange tones and brassy tones, which most brunettes, that's what they're gonna struggle with. And so the Brass Off is gonna really be great for neutralizing that. And finally, we have the Matrix So Silver. This is for our blondes. This is really, really delicate, but it's gonna cancel out any yellow tones, any of that unwanted, you know, brassiness that blondes get. But for brunettes, I think you need something stronger, like the Brass Off. That's gonna be what they need, but for the blondes, the So Silver. And when we are washing these out, you're gonna wanna use the new Unbreak My Blonde Bleach Finder. Now this is really cool technology because what it does is it changes colors when the bleach is gone. So if it senses that there is bleach still in the hair, it's gonna be pink. But when you get all the bleach out, then you're gonna get a yellow lather. So the pink lather means you gotta do another one, make sure you get it all out. And then that way, when you go into your toners, you don't have any residue of bleach in the hair that can interfere with the toning process. So let's continue on with a little bit more application because I know you guys want to see a little bit more application. Give me some hearts if you guys want to see a little more application. And let me take a look if there are any other questions that I missed. All right, let's see here. So you can buy all this stuff at Cosmoprof. So let's see, Matrix told us all the toners. All right, so I think we got a lot of the questions answered. So let's continue on. Let's do one more set of highlights because I know you guys love to see this stuff. So let's do this other section because, you know, again, that money piece, you can't see this one enough. So let's start up again. I'm gonna make sure you guys get close enough. Actually, let me come from this side. All right, let me get you guys closer so you guys can really see this. All right, so we're gonna start off again with a Little V shape, these are gonna be super important. So you got this small section, this is where we're gonna do the V's. Take a tail comb, make sure you've got a clean surface to work from. And I know I'm repeating myself, but I think it's that repeating and reinforcement that's gonna make it stick. Because I think a lot of people, if you hear it once, it goes in one side, it goes out the other. And if you get it, these are things that that attention to little detail, that's gonna really get the work right. So you can see I started at the mids, feathering my way up. And now taking the other part of our V, and we are going to be connecting this. And you see the little V shape that we're working in. Now we're going to take our larger tint brush and we're going to go through the mid shafts of the hair. So let's take this one right here. Again, working from a smooth surface. And we're going to get thicker and heavier as you move down the hair shaft, kind of connecting the two delicate highlights. And like I said, we were working in a horizontal pattern, but as you can see, because you're leaving a little bit of negative space, you're not going to get those chunky, overly hard lines. But from the mids and the ends, that's where the chunkiness works. That's where you can have that stronger highlight, that high impact contour. And you can see just exactly what has happened here. So we did that highlight, but from the front, you see what's going on here. And this is a side-by-side, you can do this, you can get a lot of lightening in one session or two sessions. But you can see here, we kept it really more delicate at the root and it's gradually getting thicker, but you can tell at a root area, it's still pretty soft and diffused. I think for me, keeping that softness and that diffused highlight is what the clients really want. So finally, let's just get into our aftercare. I think our aftercare is probably the most important thing because, if your clients are spending, hundreds of dollars on getting highlights, but then they're using the wrong products at home, it's kind of defeating the purpose of, of our end goal. And you want the clients to come back with healthy hair. So for our blondes, my go-to and our new hero is going to be the Unbreak My Blonde series. Now these ones are really fortified with citric acid, and that's what's going to really keep the hair soft, conditioned, and feeling really good. There's also a leave-in treatment that's ideal for every hair type. It's going to give it a lot of luster and shine. It's not going to weigh it down, but it's going to give the hair really good manageability, and it's a great product before you start styling the hair, especially for these balayage dams, because we all know we're really maximizing the most delicate part of our hair with these blonde tips, but you want to keep them shiny, healthy, and dimensional. So those are going to be your key things. So just to top it off from the top, in case you guys tuned in late, what we did was we used Matrix Lightmaster, the original one, the 8-level lift in the blue tub with 40 volume. Now the 40 volume is going to give you the maximum amount of lift, and that blue tub of Lightmaster is the strongest because we said earlier, you want to get the maximum lift. Whenever you're doing freehand work, you need to make sure that you're really maximizing what you're getting. Now with our application, we did very delicate highlights at the root, gradually getting thicker and heavier as we move down the hair shaft. And again, this application technique and working in a horizontal pattern is going to give you the most impact of the highlight. And you can see you're getting a lot of dimension and pop with this contour, because that's what, I think this is really desirable right now. This is what clients want, because it's also almost reminiscent of what little girl's hair does in the sun. So you can see there's a lot of dimension. And for our toning, for this one specifically, I used the Matrix Color Sync acidic, the alkaline toners. These are acidic toners. And the acidic are gonna really seal the cuticle. The shade that I used for this mannequin head was the 10PV. Now this is a pearl finish with a slight violet tone, and that's gonna neutralize the unwanted yellow tones. But in the acidic toners, there's actually 4 in the pearl series. There is the A, which is the traditional pearl. V is gonna be neutralizing yellow. There's a R, which is the rose gold, which is great for like redheads. And then gold, which is if you want to have a pearl gold finish.